Hello everyone, this is Super Comic Girl. I am back with another video. So I do videos several times a week. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you wish to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you do not miss any future videos. So one of the great things I like about having a channel that's specifically for comic books and for animation and all that type of stuff, despite the fact I don't have fancy equipment like some other comic book YouTube channels, is I get to really put out there my personal opinion about certain things, because I think that as a nerd and as a fan of comic books and animation, as well as like television and movies and live action, that I kind of want to get out what I think about certain things, or why I think certain things need to happen, and all that jazz. And I know most of my videos have been comic book reviews that I have really enjoyed doing, and I will continue to do them and everything. So for people that have not gone through my, what, I don't even remember how many videos I've done so far for the channel, and they're like, I don't really have the time and effort to kind of like go through all these videos that this person's done. Here it is, front and center. So last year I was watching a video about people that watch movies that are based, or television shows that are based on, supposedly based on comic book characters, that think that what they see on screen, like television or the big screen, is what the character is actually like. And I kind of wanted to put my own 2 cents into this topic, because I think it's just really important for people to understand that reading comic books about your favorite character is so important. Now, last year I did a video about Miss Marvel. I almost said Captain Marvel. Miss Marvel, and about how it's important to read her comics before you watch the show, so that you can tell how faithful it is to the comic book. And no, I'm not going into the whole thing where she was turned into a mutant. I've already put my point of view on that and everything. So, with that being said, so one of the things that people don't seem to understand is that when we deal with comic books, a lot of times we get writers like how they want a certain character to turn into. Sometimes they do like really nasty, horrible things to a character, especially if it's a woman, all that type of stuff. And I'm not going to go into a rant about men riding women and doing all sorts of freaky, weird things to them. I have seen some weird, freaky things happening to male superheroes that make what happens to female superheroes look really tame. So when you go to a comic book shop, and the one I go to, Comic Book World, I go there every Wednesday, or I try to go there every Wednesday, because they have their new issues in. And so what ends up happening is you get all of these new issues, and sometimes if you're new to collecting comics, I was back, I think, in the last part of June, especially because I started this channel I started this channel last part of June. You're overwhelmed by the number of comic books, especially if you haven't collected them in a very long time, and there might be hundreds of issues of your favorite comic that you're going to have a hard time even getting. Like a couple months back, they celebrated Batman Detective Comics 1000 something. I'm thinking, I am not even going to attempt that. But for people that have been collecting Detective Comics since issue 1, 1000 something is nothing. They just go there and buy it. Um, so yeah, me, I just generally like to start with issue 1, and hopefully it's not that far apart where I have problems getting those issues. Um, so yeah, so like with me and Wonder Woman, what I actually do is I buy the new issue that comes out, and then I will purchase like 2 copies of previous issues of the same line, like the new 52. Now it's now it's like DC Reborn or something like that. And then I go on eBay and I will look at what I've got and go, okay, I don't have this issue, so I'm going to go ahead and get it. And sometimes I will buy 5 back issues or 10 back issues, depending on how much the seller is selling that issue for. Which I have found that doing it that way, I can probably get to the 100th issue in about 4 or 5 months. So that's always good because it's like I have a better chance of getting the issues. There was a time that I didn't really go on eBay to get much of anything because of the fact that my brother was on jury duty. I will not say state or federal. So, yeah, so Wonder Woman's a little bit more able for me to actually get the back issues and fully understand, how they revamped her and all that type of stuff. So, for people that have been collecting comic books for a very, very, very long time, they literally, when they see these movie adaptations of their favorite comics, they literally do not have anything nice to say about the movie even before the movie comes out. And mainly because, unlike Marvel, the producers who direct, or these directors who direct these movies and TV shows, they have zero understanding of the source material. So, now with that being said, I always tell people it's important to read as much of the comic as you possibly can so that you know perfectly well if the movie is a faithful adaptation of the comic or if it's just someone's weird view of things. And I will go to one particular movie in a little bit. If you guys have not watched the one I put out at the 1st of August of last year, then you will probably not know what I am talking about. So, faithful adaptations of comics is important, and it really ensures that you do not waste your money. Now, let me backtrack a little bit here. There are people that watch these movies that are divided into 2 groups. One, people that have never read a comic book in their life, have no intention to. The subscriptions do not do anything for them. And then you have you will have people that are diehard comic book fans that will watch the movies, will watch the TV shows, and they just consider them like their own separate thing, which is generally the best way to go. So when I went to my first comic book shop, I mean the big one, the one I've gone to for over 6 months, he had a lot of Batman comics, and Batman is probably one of my most favorite DC characters. In fact, I liked him so much that when I went shopping on the 3rd of August, that big, long video that you guys got, I actually bought as many of the Batman comics as I possibly could without it crowding and keeping out other comic books that I really wanted to get. There was one, I forgot what issue number it was, that I got on August 3rd. That was as close to the beginning as I possibly could, so I went and I started buying all the back issues of that particular run, and that didn't take me that long to actually get, which was awesome. So, out of all of my favorite DC comics that came out in the 90s, it had to be Batman the Animated Series. And it was a really good cartoon. It was actually a sequel to like, I think it was like the late 80s, maybe early 90s, I'm not exactly sure. And basically they redesigned, Batman and Batgirl and Robin. They brought Nightwing, because, like, you had the new Robin, then you had the former Robin, who is now Nightwing. And then, you redid all of his Rogues Gallery villains and Commissioner Gordon, all that type of stuff. So it was redone. Even Alfred was redone. Everything was redone. So there was a guy called Tim. I don't know if Tim is his last name or I'm going to guess it's his first name. And what happened was, before they revamped the design of the characters, there was a scene in the show in which Barbara is having a dream about Batman, and most importantly about the fact is he's about ready to kiss her before lo and behold, his voice changes to Dick Grayson. And this shows that if a woman is fantasizing about a guy, she probably is starting to develop some kind of emotional attachment to the person. Now, I mentioned in the video about the Killing Joke, which is I'm going to be mentioning again in this video, that Barbara Gordon did not become Batgirl because she was infatuated with Batman. She became Batgirl because her father was falsely jailed. And she wanted people to know that Batman did in fact believe that he was innocent. Meanwhile, the actual Batman is pretending to be this Matches Malone character and he almost gets killed by Two-Face and his goons. So we don't know if Tim was a part of the design team when they did that particular episode, or he came later. We don't know. Now, a really weird thing about it is Commissioner Gordon, back in the television show, and somebody actually mentioned this in a comment on one of the videos I watched back in August, that Commissioner Gordon actually wanted to pair his daughter with Bruce Wayne. And the thing was, she was at least in her 20s. And the actress who played her, I think she was at least in her 20s. So I look at the age of the actress and not the age of the character, because the age of the actress is what is people go, oh yeah, Batgirl is in her 30s or Batgirl's in her 40s, because the actress is in her 30s or 40s. They're never going to view that person as younger than the actress because, So one of the bad parts about animation is they've got a really bad habit of drawing characters younger than they're supposed to be. For example, anime is very guilty of this. There's one anime I heard about last year, I don't even remember the name of it, where the sister looks like the mother and the mother looks like the sister. So basically the sister looks like that she's old enough to be the guy's mother, and the mother looks like she's old enough to be the guy's sister. It's Japanese anime. It's weird. It's a weird world. So you really kind of see that in, like, you would think that somebody that's in college, like Barbara Gordon is, would look at least in her 20s, but she kind of looks like she's 18, 19 years old. And so we kind of are confused about the age of these two characters. So back in 1988, Alan Moore and two others brought out The Killing Joke, which he is not really a fan of anymore, even though it's considered a DC masterpiece. And basically it is Joker. This is how Barbara Gordon ended up becoming Oracle. And as I read, some of the aspects of The Killing Joke was incorporated in the DC continuity. So basically what happens is she gets healed and she's part of the New 52 and all that jazz. and of course she can walk and everything like that, but she's got post-traumatic stress disorder because of what happened to her. So she still has that particular problem, which is good to see that they're not just getting up off their feet and running around and they're not affected by anything, which is always good. It just makes them feel more human and everything. So back in about close to 7 years ago, they brought out the movie adaptation of The Killing Joke, which is considered by far one of the worst DC movies ever produced. I don't know, never watched it, except for the 2 scenes where Batman and Batgirl are having sex, and of course, to the 3. After the event and when Joker, 4, Joker shoots her through the spine, pulls the stomach, shoots her through the spine, and then of course, when she wakes up and she basically tells Batman exactly what Joker is planning. And that's when Bullock tells Batman that she's found in a state of undress, hinting that she was possibly raped. But The Killing Joke, the cover of The Killing Joke, has Joker taking a photo of her. So people say he just took photos of her naked, not that she was actually raped. But still, it's sexual assault. It's Joker being Joker. But the whole point of it was to fuel Batman and basically trying to kill him. So, so the thing was, I was more upset about Barbara Gordon being shot in the stomach through the spine than I ever was about the sex scene between Batman and Batgirl. So, they're saying that Tim actually was involved in that project, and it was basically a nod to the animated series, where it was heavily hinted, or at least from Barbara's point aside, that she did in fact have feelings for Bruce Wayne. She is definitely older. Come on. This is my viewpoint of characters. If a character is like 22 when she's first introduced, and then it's been like 20 some years, I'm probably gonna go, yeah, she's like in her 40s, just she's perfect. She could be played by a 40-year-old actress. And if there's a 40-year-old actress who plays Barbara Gordon and she's making out with Batman, I'll just say it's a 40-year-old woman making out with a 49-year-old man. It's just it's age. It's what I see on the screen, people. It's what I see on the screen. But the reason I bring that up is it's not a faithful adaptation of The Killing Joke. It's Tim and his fetish. But it was a nod to the original series, which he was really a part of, and then of course he was part of Batman Beyond. He also did the Adventures of Superman and other things. But he did some good work with Justice League Unlimited. He did some good work there. But we all will always remember his fetish about Batman and Batgirl. And the thing about it was that the only thing that he did right about it was that he didn't make it an instantaneous thing. It was over the years. So Batgirl worked with Batman for several years and developed an emotional attraction to him, a physical attraction to him. And The Killing Joke nodded to that yes, this is when it changed over from being a simple partnership to what Barbara basically confirms that yes, they, but Tim didn't, but the new Batman, Terry didn't see it as being gross or being unprofessional. He saw, Barbara and Bruce are old, and they did stuff when they were younger, and he doesn't. The impression I get is he doesn't judge adults for what they did when they were younger, because they're adults and he's a child, and he has no business, attacking that. But that's an example of not being faithful to the source material. You know, just including that, just, you know, yes, it was cool. It was a nod to the original series. And yes, I know I'm going to get people that are going to hate on it. I know, but it's my channel and I can say what I want to say. But that is a prime example of not being faithful to the source material. But just, I mean, did they really need to include that scene? No. Was it hot? Yes, it was. It was a hot scene. But the thing about it is that when we have, like, when they brought the New 52 out, they totally erased Batman Beyond. They totally erased Justice League Unlimited. They totally erased Justice League. They totally erased, I think they totally erased Young Justice. I don't know. I mean, I like Young Justice a lot. Young Justice was awesome, especially Claritin the Witch Boy and the Child. Those two were demented Chaos Lords, and I want to at some point see them come back. That would be really awesome. I don't know what they did to poor Dr. Fate. I think Dr. Fate went away. I don't know. But I think that the reason... so basically, they erased a lot of storylines when they revamped the New 52. One of them was Bruce and Barbara's relationship. So there was no stillborn child, which sucks. Fucking sucks. You just totally ignore there was a baby. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit because that pissed me off big time. Because I've read Spider-Gwen, and that's where I get my pissed off thing from. So, so they erased the baby, which fucking sucked. I couldn't stand that. Like, really, you not only did they erase the baby, but they erased basically any of Bruce Wayne's biological children that he didn't know anything about, because Tim created it. Like, okay, really. I thought it was a sweet moment, Bruce Wayne dies and he has no idea that he's got a son. I thought that was sad. It was a sad thing. It shouldn't have been erased. Now, however, they're still continuing Batman Beyond because they want to torture the 52. So literally it's like this. It's like basically Barbara and Bruce's relationship is not canon anymore, even though it was part of the DCAU, okay, which pissed me off. And so basically Barbara and Dick are canon. And I am going to go into the whole thing with Harley and Poison Ivy because that needs to be said as well. And they erased Terry McGinnis, except for his own comic book, which is not considered part of the DC universe. It's considered its own thing, which, I'm sorry. I have no problem with Terry McGinnis being Bruce Wayne's son. I'm sorry. I'm not against that. I think that is totally appropriate for a elderly guy, to have a 35-year-old son. I'm sorry, people... I'm sure people agree with me on that. It's perfectly fine for an elderly man to have a 35, 40-year-old son. I don't know what universe people live on where that would be inappropriate, but okay. I'm probably going way out left field on that. But, Batman Beyond is still a popular comic. The people still love the animated series. They really liked the Batman, and I read an article that the Batman actually fixed the Killing Joke. Basically kicking Joker's ass without the shot in the stomach, which I thought that was cool. But the thing also noticing is between the show is over. The show's been over for a couple of years now, but literally, Batgirl is like fan service to Batman. I mean, but there's a clear distinction that she is much younger than Bruce Wayne, and there absolutely was no relationship between those two. So, yeah, I did like the Batman. I did watch it. It was a great show. Great thing about the show was it did fix a lot of the problems. But anyways, so going to Poison Ivy. So if people think that the sex scene between Batman and Batgirl was supposedly bad, and I know last year, get this, they're still making videos about it. I made mine because I hadn't watched it and I hadn't posted a video about it. And I decided, I'm just going to post this once, but since it's part of the video about being faithful to the source material and about fans of superhero movies, let's talk about totally ignoring the fact that Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy actually had sex. Like, it was in Harley Quinn. And the thing that I like about Harley Quinn, and it is as adult as you possibly can imagine, and it's not made for kids, is finally they acknowledge that Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy actually are a couple. King Shark, or is it King Shark or Shark King? He's like, oh, this will be a problem with the dynamic. I did get a kick out of the pheromone thing. I thought that was hilarious. But Darkseid he's just like, I know this on your mind, and this is what it says, and he's just funny as shit. But I did like the show. I do like the show because it establishes this as canon and not as outside the continuity. Which is good, because I'd rather see Harley Quinn with Poison Ivy than with Joker. I'm sorry, but Poison Ivy doesn't beat the shit out of Harley Quinn. Poison Ivy loves Harley Quinn. I mean, she loves Harley Quinn, and she doesn't beat on her, which is good. I like people with non-violent, talking about beating on you and try to kill you kind of non-violent. You get what I'm going. You get what I'm getting at. So yes, so that is some of the things that I got really pissed off about it, because Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are a couple, and then DC was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna totally ignore this, which was stupid. And of course, it really pissed me off. But the thing about when they revamp stories, they do it for many different reasons. Probably the main one, especially with Barbara and Bruce, was that I don't know if it was because people thought the relationship between these two were highly inappropriate, even though she happens to be a grown-ass woman. I think they deleted it and got rid of it because they erased a lot. Like, Castria Kane, who was Batgirl or Batwoman, one of the two? I don't know. She got completely erased from the continuity. She did not exist. And I did read her when she was in comic book form, and I thought she was a great Bat person. But it kind of makes me really wonder about, is it that they did like the pairing because of the age gap, or did they not like the pairing because fans didn't like the pairing? Is it they brought back Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn's relationship because they were trying to prove that they weren't steering away from LGBT characters, or what? I don't know. But people got really upset when basically they were freaking erased. But that is a whole ball of whatever. But when we talk about TV shows being adapted, or comic books being adapted from TV shows, sometimes what you see on the film is not what's going to be in the comic. And as far as I know of, and I stopped buying Batman Adventure comics back in like over 20 years ago. So I think I was at issue number 15 when I stopped buying them, and then I think it's like they stopped it, like I don't know when. I have to look it up, but there was no indication at all that there was a relationship between Bruce and Barbara. Um, but also the thing was, I really did like the relationship between Batman and Wonder Woman. I thought it was really great because literally it's like, you know, he's just like with Barbara. Yeah, he has issues. He did not want to get into a relationship with Wonder Woman. Why? I don't know. But, you know. Somebody need to do a fanfic where Batman and Wonder Woman have a baby together, and that'd be really awesome. But speaking of babies and miscarriage storylines, which really was fucked up. So basically, they have a bunch of unprotected sex, and voila, Barbara turns out that she's preggy or pregnant. And I swear DC does not know how to write pregnant women kicking ass at all. Marvel did a better job of it. So, prime example of this. So, last year, I started reading Spider-Gwen. This is same thing, you know, they all think that she killed Peter Parker and all that type of stuff. And she goes to an alternate Earth, I don't know what number it was, where she encounters Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman is very pregnant. She is, I mean, literally, she is so fucking pregnant. Her stomach is bigger than her head. But, she still goes out there and she still fights crime as Spider-Woman. There is no miscarriage. There is none of that. It's like Marvel writers know how to write pregnant superheroes. You had Storm, who was pregnant. She was still out there doing her thing. One punch in the stomach killed Bruce Wayne's child. What? What? So in other words, you had no intention that Bruce Wayne and Barbara Gordon would ever have a kid together. So you decide, hey, let's just kill the child. Like, what are you thinking in your head about this? But Marvel Comics, you got pregnant superheroes. They're going out there and they're going, and shh, and a boom, and boom, boom, boom. And they're still giving birth to dang fucking children. I don't understand this. I don't think I'm ever going to understand this. It's just like DC sucks at miscarriage storylines. So it sucked. It sucked. Just like it sucks they got rid of the baby. There was no baby. There was no baby. It's an alien from wherever. But that was what pissed me off. Is I'm reading this comic book where Gwen Stacy goes to see Spider-Woman, another universe. She is sitting in a chair eating a freaking like artery clogging burger, and she's pregnant and she's still up there fighting crime. Though actually in the scene she was actually sitting down in the chair. She's letting Thor and some other person do it. I'll just let Thor do it because Thor's awesome. And I'm just a little preggy female. I think they were fighting the Vulture in that issue. But one punch in the stomach, Bruce Wayne's baby's gone. Which is an emotional thing that they didn't even handle well. They didn't even attempt to handle it. Like, what the fuck? Like, really? You killed the baby, you killed this unborn baby, and you didn't even handle Barbara Gordon's trauma well. just, it's lazy storytelling in its finest. Like, I really would have loved to see Barbara Gordon have that baby to full term, and the baby grows up to be a crime fighter. That would have been an awesome issue. This is why you got fan fiction. That's why you got some of this good, some of it is well, we're not going to talk about that. But also fan fiction kind of helps fans kind of like flesh out how deprived these characters actually will be, and everything. And I did read one where they were basically talking about, from Barbara Gordon's point of view, about how she felt about finally getting into Batman's pants. So it was an interesting story, and I did read it. But yeah, but you know, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that thing. But yeah, and then, you know, I have read a lot of really great comics, and that has a lot of big followings and everything, and it literally is. It amazes me about how they will focus on one particular thing, but they won't focus on the other stuff, or there won't be enough videos focusing on that particular stuff. Like the photos and the Killing Joke and everything like that. But the people that comment on these videos, they do make a lot of really good points about Barbara. When she woke up, she was like, I gotta tell Batman what Joker is doing, and this is because she doesn't want to lose her father. She lost her ability to walk, but she doesn't lose her father. But yeah, you know, you have Marvel that does a better job at certain types of very sensitive subjects. DC doesn't do such a good job with it, which sucks. You know, and then you have, of course, people hating on Miles Morales because he's not Peter Parker, which, you know, I happen to like Miles Morales. I guess that makes me a weird person, but I do. I also like Ironheart, another iron-suited individual. I think she's awesome. She's very brainy. I like brainy people. But that's the thing I think people get really upset about when they adapt these comic books, or they adapt these graphic novels, or they adapt here and there to movies or television shows, animated or live action. They're like, we all know it's going to be crap, but we're going to still watch it because we're deprived, we're immoral people. And I am going to say, how many really uncomfortable scenes in live action or animated movies and shows have all of you seen? I think one of the things that I think really would probably upset a lot of people, and I'm not talking about what I just talked about, is Bruce Wayne's first attempt to commit suicide, which has been established that, yes, that is what happened. He actually tried to commit suicide. And I think it was that Alfred caught him, and he suddenly realized that this is not what his parents would have wanted. He decides he's going to dedicate his life to fighting crime. You know, every character in the DC universe, every character in the Marvel universe, they all have that moment where things happen in their lives that change their lives and put them on the course to where they're going to go. You look at Iron Man. The only origin story about Iron Man is what I watched in movies. But you go look at, like, Doctor Strange. They did a really good job with his accident scene. But if you have not read the origins in comic books, you don't know if the origin story that you're watching is the actual origin story. I know in Spider-Man we all know about Peter Parker's origin story, and so they know that if they don't do it the way that it's in the comics, that people are going to be like, no, this is not Peter Parker. But you know, it's just, it is something else. And they've done some, DC's done some pretty shocking things besides what I mentioned. They did the part where the Amazons raped. They did the rape. They went there. They raped sailors for the purpose of getting pregnant, and then they killed the sailors and threw their bodies overboard. And if they gave birth to a male, they would go off to live with Hephaestus, where they'd be making weapons for women. That is 40 layers of fucked up. Just really. So you go and you freaking rape a dude in a boat. You go and you kill the said dude. And then if you give birth to a son, you send him to live with Hephaestus. Seriously, the guy probably has 800 little boys in his domain, which I am not even going to go into what he might be doing to them. I know people are like, that is not right. Hephaestus is not a pedophile. I'm pretty sure he's not. But yeah, it's weird. But it's one of those weird things that DC does. And when Diana basically I think she finds out about how where little girls come from, and she is absolutely horrified. There was a little thing I saw on the internet. She was like this. She was like not happy. Of course, she wasn't born that way. And she has complete respect for men. But yeah, there has been, I mean, DC has done so many fucked up things. You know, they've done, you know, women raping men. They've done, you know, Batman basically get into Batgirl's pants. Once again, that will be the last time I will mention that. You know, they've done the shooting. They have done all of this stuff. They've done like miscarriages, which was, like I said, done so badly. You know, all this type of stuff. But the thing about it is everybody's guilty of, like, doing their own thing. Like, when you're in charge of a comic book line or a comic book title, and you literally, by issue 800, you heavily apply something that fans don't like. But still the TV show is a real classic. I mean, I am going to be absolutely honest. Batman the Animated Series is critically acclaimed, but it's no longer considered canon anymore. Batman Beyond was critically acclaimed. It's no longer considered canon anymore because of the New 52. People probably weren't shocked when they found out that Amazonians rape men and kill them and dump their body in the sea. But I really think they're more shocked. The fact is that the little boys are sent to live with Hephaestus, and literally he's got a whole colony of little boys. That is way too fucked up. Just is fucked up to no end of fucked up. But yeah. But I still, like I said, I still like the show, and as much as people probably don't like this, it's bound to happen. It's really bound to happen. Barbara is a very gorgeous woman. She's very hot. And I know a lot of men will say, oh, Barbara Gordon, the animated series, she's smoking. It's human behavior. Plain and simple. But I think that they could have done it a lot better. When we talk about the fallout between the family, I think they could have done it a whole lot more better than they did. And to turn into something a little bit more appealing or not so awkward and everything. But it's one of those things that, you know, you have to put up with when you're reading comics and when you're watching television shows, you're watching movies and all that stuff. It doesn't make it good. It doesn't make it right. but it's unfortunate side effect of us liking comic books and comic book media and everything. But, yeah, back to what I said earlier. I really would have loved to see Barbara Gordon give birth to Bruce Wayne's child, and raise him or her to be to be who he or she was supposed to be. But unfortunately, it was in the cards, and poor Barbara Gordon got that particular hand handed to her, and everything. And yeah, so, yeah, I'm going to end it here. This is a long video. But I'm going to really try to get the animated series, the one that came out in the 90s. And I really would like to get the 52 Batman, because I really kind of want to see the difference between the two series. I really would like to see that. Because we all know in the new 52 there's no relationship between Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne. But, that could change. Barbara Gordon could be older in the series. Like I said, I have not read the 52 Batman, at all. So I'm definitely going to pick it up, and I'm definitely going to read it. And despite it being several years old, I am going to do a review of the 52 Batman. I just have to find out which one, what the format of the lettering is, because that's how you can tell if it's 52 if it's not. But I'm definitely going to, I'm not going to do a review of the animated series comics. I'm just collecting them and reading them and just reminiscing about when I was a teenager, and I didn't feel like that everything I was eating was not going to agree with me. But yeah. So if you have reached the end of this video, thank you so much. Thank you. You must obviously love the video. I did enjoy putting together. Sorry I don't have little comic book pictures and stuff like that. One of the huge reasons I don't have those types of things is I'm really concerned about copyright strikes and everything. So yeah, I am going to end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed doing it. And until next time, nerds, read on.